LateNighter.com. It's Late Night Last Night with Jon Schneider. And now, here's Jon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Last Night on this Friday, here to talk about what happened on Thursday night, September 25th. I am very excited to talk about what happened at the end of this late night week, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about what we saw first last night on Kimmel, and I'll also just say, you may notice if you're watching us on YouTube, on our graphic, no guest last night on Fallon, because Fallon was off on this Thursday night. He did a show on Sunday after the Chiefs and Giants game, so he had no Thursday night show this week. But we have 4 other shows to talk about, and we will start with Kimmel once again, obviously the biggest story of the week, where Kimmel is consistently getting the cheers as he comes out to his audience. We get to hear once again, Jimmy, 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 and he says to the audience,
"Can we not do that every night now?" I mean, I appreciate it, but I also hate it. I really do.
Yeah, so the attention's still all over Kimmel to see how he would respond. I mean, I guess the conversation is dying down a little bit from earlier in the week, but still, it's the end of this big Kimmel week. And he is here. He's going to talk about his Brooklyn shows next week. So next week will be another big week of Kimmel, as he had originally planned to go to Brooklyn once the suspension happened. We weren't sure if it was going to come together or he was going to be able to go out there, and now he is going to Brooklyn for 5 nights of shows next week. So Jimmy Kimmel, tyically on from Monday to Thursday, will have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday shows next week. He says that they have to stay on the move so that the FCC can't get them. He's then going to talk about Escalator Gate, which has been another huge story of the week, also talking about the sale of TikTok, and then he is going to talk about the ratings that he got this week. Huge story. We reported it on Late Nighter about the ratings that Kimmel received for his show and his monologue on Tuesday in particular. I mean, just some of the biggest ratings we've seen in late night in decades. So Jimmy's going to address that.
Even though we're still being preempted in 60 American cities, on Tuesday, we had our second highest rated show in almost 23 years on the air. Monologue from Tuesday night has more than 21 million views just on YouTube alone. And I want to say, we couldn't have done it without you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no one can say anything about Kimmel's ratings this week. He certainly has them. He's then going to show a really funny video of Randy Quaid calling Kimmel a liar with an empty box of milk bones at his feet. And then Guillermo's going to have some milk bones. Just a very bizarre video from Randy Quaid. And then he's going to talk about some of the other bizarre videos that were made this week. There was a lot of AI videos of Kimmel being made. I think we also put an article about that on Late Night earlier in the week. Things that Kimmel was saying, things that Guillermo was saying that weren't really real, that were, made by AI. And there's this one that talks about his dad, and he's going to address that on air. So here we go.
Everything into his show. And even when his father passed away, he didn't stop working. I think ABC shouldn't treat Jimmy like this. If a talk show host can't speak freely, then they have no value.
Wait, hold on. My father passed away? What a way to find out. Dad, did you know this? Are you aware that you're dead?
I'm shocked. I think I am going to pass away from what I heard.
All right.
That was a great moment last night where, again, the AI video says that, Kimmel managed to go on air after his dad died, and his real dad is in the audience, and he goes to him for a rare appearance on Kimmel. And that was really a good clip to go back and check out last night from Kimmel's show. His main guest of the night is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So JLD is there, and she's going to come out with her sister's dog, Ethel. The night before, we got Lisa Ann Walter coming out with some food. This time we got JLD coming out with an animal. And this is what JLD says.
I thought it's been so crazy this last week that to be with a puppy might do you some good.
Oh.
Yeah, very nice there from Julia to bring out a dog for Jimmy, and they're going to play with the dog. He says, "I'm sorry, Ethel, Guillermo ate all of the milk bones," referencing what happened earlier with Randy Quaid. And I thought this was also a great line from Julia.
Bones?
And she particularly wanted to come on because she's a huge fan of the First Amendment.
Oh, this.
That makes sense. Yeah, Ethel, big fan of the First Amendment. She will also say, I think what you've done the past week has been brave and powerful. So still a lot of talk about Kimmel and the whole situation. Then we're going to talk about Julia's dad also, who was actually on Richard Nixon's enemy list a long time ago. And they're going to show a picture of that and look through the enemy list and compare that to what Trump is doing. There's a good back and forth about whether she'll be in Avengers Doomsday. Obviously, she can't say anything. She's coming off of being at Thunderbolts earlier this year. So, playing coy there, and then her meeting the Rizzler and talking about that. We also get Oscar Nunez on the show, very famously from The Office. He's on the new Peacock show, The Paper, which a lot of people are talking about right now. He's the only cast member that notably was brought back from The Office to The Paper so far. So he's going to talk about that, and then how he was on the Jimmy Kimmel's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where he actually just won $1 million for charity from Planned Parenthood, and they show a lot of clips from that and him running around. Alex G is going to be the musical guest. He's going to perform Oranges on the show. Let's head over to Colbert, where Colbert is going to continue to talk about Trump being upset with the United Nations escalator. He just can't handle what's going on. He posts or he shows a post from Truth Social how Trump went on a really long rant about the escalator.
Usually, when a drama queen throws that much of a hissy, at least Andy Cohen interviews them after the show.
So he's going to bring out his escalator investigator that he brought out the night before. He's going to be back to try and figure out why this happened again. Again, very simple solution here with the videographer. And then, Trump has gone on to say that there was other problems, including with the teleprompter, and that nobody could hear him. So he's going to bring in the teleprompter investigompter and the ineffective acoustics detective sleuth fix, because no one was able to hear a speech unless they were wearing earpieces, which is pretty regular at the UN. Colbert is going to do his segment Meanwhile that he does pretty much once a week. Jeremy Strong is his main guest on the night. He's there to promote the new Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere movie and his new documentary, The White House Effect, on climate change. He has a good moment here. Obviously talking about the Springsteen film, and then he's going to actually read a message from a climate scientist that works at NASA, and he reads a message from him on air. So nice moment there from Jeremy Strong. Carrie Preston also had a really interesting interview on Colbert. She's from Elsbeth. You may have seen those commercials playing all over CBS. She shows a clip about Colbert being an upcoming guest star on Elsbeth when the new season premieres, and now he is set to be murdered on the show. So they're going to show a clip of Elsbeth in the show meeting Colbert, and then talk about what it was like to be murdered on the show.
He was
you
were so game. You
Do
were
it twice
so,
in 1 week. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really interesting how after Colbert's impending cancellation was announced, he then goes on Elsbeth and gets killed on that show. So they're going to have some fun with Carrie Preston talking about that. So it was a pretty nice night over at Colbert as well. Like I said, no Fallon on NBC. So we're just going to talk about Seth now. He's going to do a closer look on how Trump media supporters are calling him the most masculine president ever, and more on Escalator Gate. I thought the line of a closer look last night was this line here from Seth. Just crush this one.
Safety mechanism causing the escalator to stop.
That's right. It turns out the saboteur came from inside the White House. The White House has a mole, a double agent, but who could it be? What powerful force would have an incentive to cause the president mild pain that could be easily treated by some sort of over-the-counter medication? Hold on, let me I'll take a sip of my coffee.
Yeah, in a week all about escalators and Tylenol, I think Seth hit a perfect note there in a closer look. His first guest of the night is Timothy Oliphant, and if you've ever seen Timothy on Seth's show, he always has a bit about like the intro, how he's introduced, writing his own intro. So this time, he's there promoting Alien Earth. He's there for the 8th time, and this time, like, Seth starts reading the intro, and it's very clearly for the bit written by Timothy, complimenting him, talking about him. He's also, written on the cue cards. There's this good back and forth about drawings that Timothy has made on the cue cards, and then handing those over to Seth, and Wally's going to appear as part of it as well. He was actually just on the show in July, so he's been there pretty often, and he explains why he came back.
They said, would you like to go back on? I said, it felt a little quick. Why don't we do it? And don't I have something coming out like early next year? And they said, we're not sure he'll still be. They said, you should. They just said we just feel better to
statistically
just better.
get in now. Get in now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, we need all of our favorite guests to come back to our late shows now. And you know, they make reference to the drawings and the cards, and Timothy will say, if you, Seth, can stay on the air until the next time I come, I will bring you another one of those cards that I drew myself. So that's a really fun interview. They put, I think it's like an 18-minute interview that they put up from last night. So it's great with Timothy Oliphant. He's always really wonderful in his relationship with Seth Meyers. Tyreek Withers is on late night as well. I think it's his first time on a late night show. He's in the new movie Him with Marlon Wayans. He talks about a group chat that he has for people named Seth, which stands for Seth Special, Exquisite, Talented Humans, all about positive affirmations. Seth, of course, says he's like to be in it. He's actually a former football player at Florida State and talks about the transition over to acting. So good job there for Tyreek in his first late night interview. Over at The Daily Show, Klepper is hosting for the final time this week. He did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday after Stewart did Monday. He's going to talk about the new presidential Walk of Fame that Trump has installed at the White House, except, when you go to all the photos of the presidents and then you get to the Biden one, there's a picture of an auto pen instead. So he'll be talking a lot about that. He talks about Trump targeting Comey once again. He's hired a new attorney. And then they're going to go to a correspondent, Tony Iwata at the U.S. Department of Justice, who said that he's really just rooting for the new lawyer because she's an underdog. She doesn't really have a lot of experience. So if you want me to care about this story, you got to pick an underdog. And that's just what Trump did. Regina Hall is the main guest on The Daily Show. She's there to talk about one battle after another. And I'll say, out of all the properties that were being promoted on late night this week, this is the one that really went full force. We got Regina Hall here. We had like most of the rest of the cast on Fallon earlier in the week. We had Sean Penn as well. Like, they were really going hard on the one battle after another promo. So definitely a movie to check out. We have Leslie Jones on as well. Leslie Jones is going to come on to talk about racism in the news. This is, Leslie does appear every now and then on The Daily Show. And she talks about Trump downplaying slavery. She's going to talk about Jillian Michaels' recent comments. And I thought, Leslie, who obviously I've watched for a long time on Saturday Night Live and on The Daily Show many times, she just absolutely crushed it with this line.
How did you go from counting calories to counting slaves, bitch?
Classic there from Leslie Jones. So that is the week. We talk now about Thursday, September 25th, and those are the shows that we're going to be covering on a week-to-week basis. Looking ahead to next week, Jimmy Kimmel heading to Brooklyn. We got some big-time guests. He talked about them on the show last night. Springsteen himself, I believe, is going to be on. There's going to be a lot of people on the show next week. So we're waiting for the official announcements of like who's on what day. I believe that there's going to be some sort of late night host swapping on each other's shows at some point. So we'll see what happens there. TBD on that as that gets announced. So exciting for that. But of course, we're also going to have the other shows back as well, scheduled for Monday, September 29th. We got Lionel Richie and Sarah Sherman on Late Night with Seth Meyers. So Sarah Sherman going to be talking about the new season of Saturday Night Live premiering the following Saturday, October 4th. So looking forward to hearing what Sarah has to say. On The Tonight Show on Monday, we're expecting Mariah Carey to be there, Anderson .Paak doing some music. So it should be a good Monday show. I'll be back on Tuesday to talk about what we hear or what we see on Monday's late night show. So I hope you've enjoyed our first week of late night last night. Would love to know what you think of these shows as we talk about all of them. Write your comments in the YouTube chat and let us know. And also follow us on all social platforms at LateNighter.com to see everything we're doing at Late Nighter. You can go to the Late Nighter website, LateNighter.com, to see all of our latest articles on late night news. And then make sure to subscribe to the Late Nighter podcast network to never miss anything we got going on. We got another interview with Mark Malkoff coming up on Tuesday as well. So I will be back next week. For everyone here at Late Nighter, my name is Jon Schneider, and we will see you next time. Everybody, have a good one.